Hey, kia ora. Helen Brums here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1776. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington from 1939. So, busy day today. Got a lot of stuff done. Found some stuff I've been looking for, which is awesome. So the client will be very happy about that. Just got back from a walk in 105 degree Fahrenheit weather, where it was like 42 degrees Celsius outside. And we had to go early because in like 15 minutes, in less than 15 minutes, I'm going to be jumping on to the speed networking thing, which is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So if you want to join us, you can come down, you can come join us. And I'm putting the link into starts at 6 p.m. Pacific time sharp. Okay, so I'm putting that into the comments right now. So it's the speed working. You go to megameetupmixer.com. We start at 6 p.m. sharp. So get there early. They do actually lock the meeting. There are 3 rules, I think it is. Be on time or you get locked out. The camera has to be on the entire 2 hours. It's a 2-hour event. So it has to be on, the camera has to be on for the entire 2 hours, and you have to stay the entire 2 hours. If you can't fulfill one of those 3, we'll see you next time. So yes, that's tonight. If you've got a couple hours free and you want something to do this evening, come join us. It's a lot of fun. Why am I wearing my tiara? Because I'm just feeling extra sparkly today. That's why. So actually, I just noticed today is episode is number 1776. So 1776, isn't that when the Declaration of Independence was signed? And the movie I watched last night was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington from 1939 with James Stewart and Jean Arthur. It was awesome. I have seen that movie once before. Absolutely loved it. I don't know what took me so long to watch it again. I've forgotten how much fun it is. It's actually got a lot of comedy in it. But Mr. Smith gets appointed as the senator from his state when the current senator dies. And so they do this little political wangling in the background and everything else. And finally, he gets elected to go. He gets to DC, and one of the funniest things, he gets to DC, he gets off the train there, he meets up with, or escorted by one of the people who are showing him around Washington. I can't remember what their position was. And all of a sudden there's like 4 women come up and give him hugs and kisses and want donations. And I'm like, okay, that's a good welcome. But then as they're trying to get him to go to the hotel, he walks past this door and he looks out the door and he can see the Capitol with the dome there, and he can see that. And so his entourage goes on this way. He goes off this way, and he goes on a tour of DC. He said he walked out of the station. There's a tour bus there. He hopped on the tour bus and went on a tour of DC. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I have to tell you this, I love the tour bus in DC. It's called, Tourmobile, I think it was called. But these things, they leave every 20 minutes from a different site within DC. And I always tell people, when I used to work at the hotels back in Virginia, I always just tell people, I said, stay on for the first round. It'll take you 60 minutes to go around. Then prioritize what you want to see and do, and then start getting off. Because if you start getting off at everything and then something you want to see is later on, you run out of time. And if you've only got a day, prioritize. So that was my advice. So if you're ever on the Tourmobile in DC, stay on it for an hour, because it takes about an hour to go around, and mark off on the map that they give you what are your priorities to see and do. There's a new bus that comes around every 20 minutes. I think it's every 20 minutes. Used to be every 20 minutes. And then you can start hopping on and off the second time around. That way you get to see what you want to see and not going, oh, let's go have a look at this. Let's go have a look at that. But anyway, so Mr. Smith went on, Jefferson Smith was his name. So he went on 1776. He went on a tour of DC. You see him go up to the Lincoln Memorial, and he's standing there, and there's this kid who is reading the Gettysburg Address that's inscribed on the wall in the Lincoln Memorial. I have to tell you, the Lincoln Memorial is incredible. If you have not been to DC and seen some of these memorials that they have there, they are phenomenal. Now, DC is one of these places that has a totally different look depending whether it's in the day or the night. So the day you've got the sun out, or the rain or whatever, but at night, whoever did the lighting landscape in DC did a phenomenal job for lighting up the memorials and everything else. DC looks incredible at night, especially when you're down around the mall area. The Capitol building's lit up. The White House is lit up. You've got Lincoln Memorial lit up, Jefferson Memorial lit up, the World War II Memorial, the Vietnam Wall, the Korean Memorial, the World War II Memorial. What ones have I missed? It's been a while since I've done since I've walked them all. And but they have this sandy stuff that goes you walk on the grass, because they've got this like sandy fine grit stuff that if you walk on it, you feel like you take your foot goes in there, and it's like walking on sand, and you just feel like you're sliding backwards, and it takes forever to get anywhere. That's my recollection of it. Anyway, so what did I think of the movie? I absolutely love this movie, and he's there's some good one-liners in there. There is a lot of comedy in this as well. And for those that don't know about Mr. Smith, he's a young man who has the Boy Ranger. He's in charge of the Boy Rangers, which is kind of like a Boy Scout thing. And he does the summer camp where they teach them how to live off the land. They give them all these basic life skills and that sort of thing. And his whole thing when he gets there is he wants to take this piece of land. He wants to buy this piece of land from the government, but he wants the boys to actually pay for it. And I thought this was a really cool concept. But they were to pay no more than a nickel. So they were to pledge what they were going to donate, but no more than a nickel. And I thought that is such a cool idea. And so the kids would end up over the years buying it back. These kids that go to these camps end up buying back the land so that they own it, and the government loans them the money. So it's not costing the government anything. Long term, they're going to get the money back. And so he announces this bill, and all these letters start pouring in, and there's donations in these envelopes. And it's so cool. Kids are already like, we're pledging. Here we go. But then, of course, his mentor, the senator who was a very good friend of his father's, ends up kind of backstabbing him and setting him up to take this fall. And so he ends up doing a filibuster on the floor of the Senate. He stands up and he refuses. He learned the first time with the help of his secretary, he learned you don't yield. You can yield for a question, but nothing else. Because if you yield for anything else, you lose the floor. And he ended up talking for 23 hours, I think it was. He did everything from reading the Declaration of Independence to reading the Constitution to just speaking about what was on his mind. And but then they found out that stuff wasn't being broadcast back in his home state, because one of the guys that he was up against happened to be this big power-wielding person who basically shut down the media, printed all these lies about him. But then his secretary remembered a little something about that, and so started put a plan in action to counter what was going on. And it was just really good. And some of the stuff he spoke about on the floor was absolutely hilarious. But by the end of that, I think it was like, I don't remember how many, I know 23 was mentioned in there somewhere. He virtually had no voice left, but he would not yield the floor. And his secretary was up in the gallery up there, and she was like coaching him from up there and going, no, don't let them do that. And so somebody suggested that maybe we should take a break and come back in the morning when we're all refreshed and everything else. And so she told him, she signaled for him to ask. They kept calling him the president. So I'm not sure, because I thought the vice president was the chair of the Senate, but they kept calling him Mr. President. So I'm not sure what was going on there. But anyway, and so she says, ask him. So he asks him that question: what would happen if we were to take a break and go and get some rest and all that? And they said, you'd only get the floor back if you were recognized first when we start session tomorrow. And so he was like, oh, I'm not yielding. So he sort of shot that one down and started reading out the Constitution in a very slow, methodical voice. And he even stopped at one point and called for a quorum. Yes, one where you got to have, because you have to have a certain number of people in the Senate. And so the senators got onto this, and so they just started rotating. So there was always a quorum in the room, and they would just rotate in and out during this whole. And so he was the only one that was standing this entire time talking. All the senators go off, have a sleep, have something to eat, come back refreshed, and they would just rotate through everything. So it was a very good movie on how politics can work. But it's one that I enjoyed. It was very, it was serious in some parts, and and not in others. And yes, Casey, I see your comment about to get on speed networking. That's okay, because I'm about to wrap up and get on there. So I have to go because I've got to go be a greeter and welcome everybody in. So if you want to join us at speed networking, the link is in the comments there. It's megameetupmixer.com. It starts at 6 p.m. sharp, but get on early so you get to meet some people beforehand. And I have to tell you, the speed networking thing is totally awesome. You get to meet some very interesting people. I've made some great connections from this. I'm not sure how much time we're going to get with each person, but usually it's just one-on-one. And you get put into different breakout rooms and you come back to the main room. Then you get put back into another breakout room with different people and all of that sort of thing. So, but anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'm out of here. I'm going to go and join that. Make sure my water is full. I think of it. Yep, we're good. We're good to go. So everybody go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening. I'll be back at regular time tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. And I am not watching a movie tonight because the speed networking goes for 2 hours. It's going to finish at 8 p.m. and I still have to have dinner. So go out and have a super fantastic sparkling evening. Hey, konera. Do, 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 do.